How's it going, guys, and welcome to the island of Dumaguete here in the Philippines. This stunning stretch of paradise is my home for the next week, and I'll be doing a bunch of scuba diving and a bunch of snorkeling. I'll be bringing you along with me to see what sort of things we can find. My name's Adam and welcome to Nature Scope. Before we get into the dive-in, I just want to talk a little bit about the place we stayed at. We were on the very south of the island of Dumaguete at a place called Kookoo's Nest, and it was absolutely fantastic there. I couldn't recommend it enough. This isn't sponsored, and I'm not at all affiliated with them in any way, but this is just somewhere that does everything well. We stayed in an eco-lodge, so basically a little wooden hut on top of the hill. The views were absolutely fantastic, and they also had a dive centre on site that was perfect. They made diving so easy, so safe, and it was just incredible. If you're after a 5-star hotel experience, then this probably isn't for you, but if you're a nature lover like me, then this was absolutely fantastic. We had lizards in our room, huge ones, like biggest I've ever seen before. We'd be sat down on the deck chairs by the beach, and little small harmless tree snakes would fall on us, stuff we'd never ever seen in the UK. It was a truly wild place with loads of animals. Even while we were eating, there were hermit crabs just walking around the restaurant. It was absolutely amazing. I'll leave a link to their website in the description. If you want to go to the Philippines to do a bit of diving, please do consider these guys. They're absolutely fantastic. Like I say, I'm not affiliated with these guys at all, but I just strongly recommend them. Let's get into the diving. For our first dive, we took a short boat ride around the coast to Antalang. This dive site was just opposite Antalang School, and this one was all about those soft corals. You can see on screen now those corals of all different colours. From the second we got in the water, it was absolutely stunning. It wasn't long before the Philippines showed us exactly what it had to offer. I think this is a green turtle, and it showed itself within 5 minutes of the dive. I've gone 10 or 15 dives in other parts of the world where turtles are quite common without seeing one, so to see one within the first few minutes was just incredible. This next clip is now one of my favourite ever diving experiences. This is a stonefish that you can see sort of dragging itself along the sand, and it's really uncommon to see these guys out moving. What they usually do is they camouflage themselves. You can see they sort of blend in with the coral, and they basically wait for stuff to come along. They're also quite toxic to humans as well. They've got spikes on the top of their head, so if you stand on it, trust me, you'll know about it. But what was really cool about this stonefish was we actually got to watch it swim. You'll just see it start swimming upwards here, and look how beautiful those fins are, those reds and yellows on it. Absolutely stunning, and really rare to see these guys out swimming. Just look how many different colours of coral are on screen now. I can see blues, oranges, reds, greens, absolutely loads of colours. More colours than I've ever seen anywhere else diving. We also saw some of the biggest starfish I've ever seen. This one you can see now is a granulated starfish, and it's so much thicker and so much bigger than anything we get in the UK. This is a map pufferfish, and you can see how it gets its name. Some of the most unique markings I've ever seen on any fish in the ocean. This clip just shows how much is going on between the corals. You can see this really large coral, and there's absolutely loads of small fish just hiding out around it. Some more of those absolutely beautiful soft plants and corals. The visibility was absolutely fantastic, the water was warm, and it made for perfect diving conditions. In terms of corals, this was one of the best dives I ever did, and it was nice to see a relatively healthy reef, but unfortunately it is the standard now to see those bleached corals. A lot of the hard corals were white, you know, they'd been bleached. It's just sort of what happens in the world now. I haven't been to a dive site where I haven't seen bleached corals, which is a real shame. But you've got to look at the positives. It is really good that lots of these corals were healthy, were vibrant, were colourful, and overall doing well. This by far is my favourite coral that I've ever seen. This is a giant barrel sponge coral, and it's absolutely huge. This one's slightly hard to see even for me, so I've zoomed it in, but I'm pretty sure what our guide was showing us here was a mantis shrimp. I don't think I've ever seen one in the wild before, so this was a first for me. You can see it there, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a mantis. This was the first of many nudibranchs we'd see on this trip. If anyone knows what species this is, please let me know in the comments. I've tried to ID it, but nudibranchs, there's just so many species, it's pretty much impossible. That brings an end to this dive, and it was time to have a quick surface interval, grab a bit of lunch before we went on to our second dive. This dive was on Kookoo Nest's house reef, literally just 10 metres from the shore, and you are there. This is one of the reasons I'd really recommend this place for diving, because their house reef is absolutely stunning and we saw loads there. The corals were beautiful, the wildlife was amazing. This dive was more about the corals though. We just sat back, relaxed and went to see some of the really, really beautiful coral that their house reef had to offer. Our guide had told us that a few years ago there was a storm that unfortunately damaged a few parts of the reef. This wasn't really reflective of the whole reef, but there were some bits where you could see coral had snapped off. At all the sites we dived in the Philippines, we saw clownfish. I've said it before, but clownfish are one of the really fun things to dive with, just because when you get a bit too close to they're an enemy, they come out to try and defend their territory, and you can get some really good shots of them swimming out. Although it's not moving, this is actually a starfish. It's a feather star. It has a lot more arms than your traditional 5-handed starfish. Really cool to see. This fish caught our eye. It is likely some sort of juvenile fish and will look completely different when it's an adult. If anyone knows what this fish is or what it becomes, please do let us know. I spoke earlier about some of the reef being battered by the storm, and this was really only true for the sort of shallower parts that were a bit more exposed. Once you got a bit deeper, you had corals like this though, which were absolutely beautiful. If you've ever watched any of our dive videos before, then you know it wouldn't be a Naturescope diving video without a moray eel. We seem to see them on every single dive we do. I always find them really intimidating and almost sort of prehistoric looking. Great to see one though, as always. I actually managed to get an ID on this nudibranch. I think it's Chromodoris loki or Loki, I think I'm saying that right, but I'm happy for someone else in the comments to tell me I'm completely wrong. There were loads of these giant clams around. This was one of the bigger ones we saw. And that concludes the second dive of the day and the scuba diving for the first day of our trip in Dumaguete. We did a little bit of snorkeling afterwards, so I've got some footage to show of that. There wasn't a huge amount that we didn't see while scuba diving, but this blue starfish caught my eye. A beautiful anemone with bright blue tips on it. It almost looks similar to snake locks that we get in the UK. We're only snorkeling for about half an hour or so because we were quite tired from the diving, but this was definitely the highlight. Another turtle, our second one for the day, and we got to spend a bit of time with this one just watching how it interacted with its environment. After letting us spend about 5 minutes with it, it decided it was done with us, which is completely understandable, and it started to take itself off to deeper waters, so we just let it go at that point. But amazing to spend a few more minutes with one of the ocean's most beautiful animals. So that's it for this one. There'll be a second part coming next week, so keep your eyes peeled for that. When it's out, I'll leave a link in the description of this one. If you enjoyed the video, leave us a like, it really helps us out. Comment if you've ever been diving in the Philippines, where did you go and what did you see? I really want to come back here, so any recommendations would be great. Subscribe to Naturescope to not miss the next part of this one and any future videos. Thanks again for watching, I'll see you all next time. Cheers.